Hello and welcome to this brief tutorial on my sources of information assignment. Now, the purpose of this assignment is actually to gain and exercise critical thinking skills, particularly in terms of evaluating the sources of your information. Social media has presented us with quite a challenge that it is relatively easy to find an article, a video, a tweet, or whatever that expresses just about any position on any topic. But if we're to make good critical thinking decisions about the way we feel about important topics in our life, like our health, how we discipline our children, what career to go into, whether we should take a mortgage out or not, then we want to make sure that the sources of information we're getting this information from are reliable and relevant to the kind of question that I'm asking. That doesn't mean you can't just do Google searches and get good information from social media sources like Twitter and YouTube, but when we're making important decisions, we want to make sure that we check that those are reliable sources of information. So this assignment is specifically to explore that. So let's take a look at the actual instructions for this assignment, and we'll quickly go through them and their relevance to what we're looking at in this assignment. So here we are in the course book. Here to review the purpose, to develop some critical thinking skills. We move here and we have specifically, you're going to identify diverse sources of information on a single topic that you will select. You'll identify information from the source, about the source, relevant to determine the reliability, validity, and relatability of the source, and then compare them to each other. Compare the reliability and validity of different sources on a single topic. Now, in essence, we're playing around with what we call our sociological imagination. Sociological imagination refers to the internal representation that we have of the world, how it works, and our place in it. It is fraught with errors. It is full of errors because of two processes. Those processes are availability heuristics and confirmation bias. Those are phenomenon of the human experience that lead to errors in our judgment as to the reliability and relatability and validity of information that we are inundated with now with the computer technology. Now, confirmation bias is essentially, if I already have a strong opinion about something, I will find information, I'll be attracted to information that confirms that. That'll be my bias. I'll look at those more positively than I look at other sources of information that are contrary to my beliefs. So I have that built-in bias. At the same time, whether we're deeply interested in something and we've done research on it, there is another, the availability heuristics, it represents the concept that we will use the most convenient available information in order to make our judgment. This represents itself in a couple ways. When we do a Google search, most people, the vast majority of people, will not go beyond the first page of results. There's actually a phenomenon, you know, the scroll, how much scrolling, whether you're going to page 2 to look for different results. Most people will choose within that first page because of availability heuristics. Heuristics is the thinking process that we go through to solve problems, and here we are. I'm just going to use the available sources to me. The other issue, and we're hearing about this now, that we're concerned about search engines and how they're changing people's opinions and whatnot, and we sort of wonder if that's true or not, but what they're really talking about is availability heuristics. So if I have confirmation bias, and I go online and I do searches and I find articles and sources of information that support my already existing thoughts on things, then the search engines recognize that and continue to feed me additional information like that. So it's a double whammy. Not only do I have a bias already based on my own thoughts, but it also becomes the sources of information that are the most available and the most present when I go online. And we've all seen this. We shop for something, and then over on the sidebar, we start getting ads for that particular something. That is a source for reinforcing, I would say, availability heuristics. So let's take a look back into the assignment here at the skills and knowledge. That's what you're going to be accomplishing here. The task is to possibly examine that sociological imagination, those assumptions that you're having, and possibly, as this graphic says, change your mind. So the best thing we can do is look at a single topic, examine your thoughts on it, and then look at different sources and evaluate those particular sources. So as we make our way through this assignment, you'll see that the first step is to reflect on your bias. We can see that right down here. Reflect on your bias. Deeply think about how you already think about this topic. The second one is evaluating your sources. This is the bigger part of the assignment here. One source needs to be a tweet, blog, or YouTube video. The second source is from a newspaper or magazine article, like a general trade magazine like Time or People magazine or something like that. And the last source is a peer-reviewed journal. Peer-reviewed journals are professional journals. There's hardly ever any pictures in them. They're available in our online databases, and I have some instructions on how to access those particular types of resources, and you can always reach out to our library staff to help you with those. What you're going to be doing is asking questions, and I've listed those questions inside of the instructions here. So the ways in which you can question the reliability of the Twitter blog or YouTube, and the questions of reliability for the newspaper or magazine, and the questions about reliability for the peer-reviewed journal. You have to ask all these questions for each source. So you go through these sources, and then there's questions about relevance, and then you draw your conclusions. Now I skipped over back here in order to make my way through the methodology here, and we see these two links. If you're hard-pressed to find a question that you're interested in researching for this particular assignment, you can access either the Word version or the PDF version of a whole list of controversial topics. So I'll click on the PDF version here, open that right up, and it's just a whole list of all kinds of different controversial topics. Can video games be a useful learning tool? Should adopted parents be given some form of maternity leave? Should women wear less revealing clothing in order to curb men's catcalling? All of these, you can look up any one of these, and what you're doing is you're looking up a tweet, blog, or YouTube video on that question. Then you're looking up a newspaper article or a magazine article on that question, and then looking up a peer-reviewed journal on that question. And what you end up with is all this information, and it brings you back, put it all together, and you write the paper, and here's the grading rubric here at the end. So you have the title page, the topic and bias. Write out the topic, write out the question that you pick, and provide your own thoughts before you've done any research at all. And then the way this is, you'll see that there's two parts for each source. So the first one, evaluating sources, number one, put the link to the source. Same, that's for each one. You're going to be putting a link to it. And in the evaluating sources for the peer-reviewed journal article, you're going to use the APA, or American Psychological Publication Manual style for citing that article. And you may have to look up how that's done, and the library can help with that as well. And then for each one, I'm asking you to answer the questions on reliability and relevance. Then you put the link to the magazine article, answer the questions on reliability and relevance, blah, blah, blah. Little bit about reading the part of the peer-reviewed article here, the methods section. I want you to relate the methods used in the article to the list of research methods in this class. So talk a little bit about the research methods that were used. Here it says sociology. This assignment exists in other classes as well, but you would look up the research methods for that particular field and match them to the ones that were used in that article. Then you draw your conclusions. How did it impact your own thoughts about it? What are the usefulness or non-usefulness of your sources? And of course, the mechanics of your paper. That's all the spelling, syntax, and organizational structure. Make sure it's clear and organized. So that's it. That's a little overview of that particular assignment. Good luck with it, and take care.